Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel and my very cold living room. Today I am in front of my bookshelf because we are talking about books. And I am so excited to be making this video because it means I reached my goal of 100 books for 2024, which is awesome because in 2023 I read 96 books. So I got so close, but not quite. So I'm so excited that I actually passed my goal and read 104 books. So that means in the span of 2 years, I read 200 books. So that is amazing. I'm so excited. I can't believe I did it. So I'm going to tell you how I read over 100 books in a year as a busy working mom. The first thing that you need to do is to break up your goal, no matter what it is. Maybe you want to start smaller and get 52 books a year. That would be a book a week. But whatever your goal is, break it up into smaller pieces. So you know how many books you need to read in a month, how many you need to read in a week, or however you want to divide it up. You could even go by season. I know I read a lot more in the fall, and I actually tend to read less in winter for some reason, because I know when I start in January with my new goal, it always takes some time to build momentum to start getting some books to my read list. So don't feel bad if there are certain times of the year where you're not making a monthly goal, because there's probably going to be other times where you're really into reading and you'll read a lot more. The first tip is that you're going to need to replace other hobbies or other habits with reading. So you only have so much time in the day. So that means you need to figure out how to divide up your time. You can replace things like scrolling on social media, watching TV, other habits that may be a little more unhealthy with something like reading. Another tip is to always have a book with you. So whether it's an audiobook, a physical book, an ebook, just always have something you can be reading in case you have some downtime. Maybe you're in a waiting room, you get to work early, whatever it is where you have some extra time and you can fit in some reading. Along those same lines is that you need to make it a priority. You will do things that you prioritize in your life. So if there's something you want to do, such as reading, make sure that you make it a priority and be conscious of when you're doing other things that might be more of time wasters, as I mentioned, things like TV or just scrolling. Just remember that you could be reading and adding more books to your read list. Also, don't be afraid to DNF books. That means did not finish. So if you are reading a book that you don't like, don't be afraid to just put it down. I do that all the time where I'll try a new book, a new author, a new genre, just whatever. I'll take a chance. And then it's just not clicking with me. So I give up on books all the time, honestly. And that's actually a big secret to how much I read, because I'm not pushing myself to finish books I don't like. And if there is a book that you like, you'll want to read it. You'll be giving up other things just to finish that book. So make sure it's a book that is really catching your attention and something that you want to read. You can also try reading multiple books at once. I think this works best, at least for me, if they're different formats. So I might have an ebook, a physical book, and an audiobook all going at the same time. Usually I stick to 2 because 3 is a bit much. Maybe if one of them is like nonfiction, so you can split it up in your head a little easier. But I find that having different formats helps me keep the books separate. Another thing is if they're separate genres, that can help you kind of divide things up in your mind better so you don't get confused. Like you might be reading a fantasy book and then like a cozy mystery. So if there's all kinds of fantasy elements going on, you know it's not happening in your cozy mystery. Also, always have a TBR list. This is a to be read list. That way, whenever you finish a book, you can just jump right into the next one. And you don't have to go researching and trying to figure out what book you want to read next. How do you make a to be read list? You can use any method you want. You could do an app like Goodreads, which is what I use. You could do a spreadsheet. You could just write it in a notebook, use the Google Tasks app, anything. And also with making a TBR list, you can make a list of books that you've already read. This can really help to motivate you when you look back at how many books you're reading and what smaller goals you're accomplishing. So it can really help you stay on track and stay motivated. Obviously, sometimes when you read this many books, you forget some of them, like some of the plot or just if you liked it. So I always like to leave a little review or at least a rating, if not a full review, to remember if I liked the book or not, so that if later I find it and I'm thinking about rereading it, I can see if I actually liked it. And sometimes I'll even leave a note like I would not reread or I would love to revisit this book. That's also a great way to add more books to your read list, is going to be books that you want to revisit. So maybe it's something you read in the past, you're not sure if you liked it, you don't really remember it, or you know you liked it and you don't remember the details. It's a really great way to get sucked into a book again because you get that nostalgia feeling. I actually love rereading some of the books that I read in high school because it just takes me back to my mentality there, and I can see kind of how I've grown as a person because my opinions might change on what's happening in the book or the characters. I've definitely read books where there was a character who got on my nerves when I was in high school, and then now as a grown adult, I can see they don't get on my nerves quite as bad. I can understand their decisions better. So, or vice versa. Maybe there's someone I loved in high school and now I read it and they're just some like whiny brat. So it can kind of go either way. So it's fun to explore that. Now, how do you get all of these books without breaking your budget, which is really important to me. If you see my other videos, I'm very budget conscious. So one thing you can do is just utilize the library. That is the easiest thing to do. My library is amazing. They have a huge selection of books. Just anything you can think of, they have it at the library. Another thing to kind of go with the library is the Libby app. So that is one where you need your library card, but once you upload your library card, you have access to ebooks and audiobooks for free. It's absolutely amazing. I even got my husband to do it because there are just so many options on there and it's just super easy to get books to listen to in particular. Another place you can go to for recommendations if you're not sure where to start is r/suggest me a book on Reddit. This subreddit is absolutely phenomenal. I have gotten so many recommendations on this subreddit. You can search different, different subjects that you want to read about, or if you really like a book, you can search that book title and someone has probably asked, hey, what is a book similar to this book? Or if you don't see what you're looking for, you can always ask a question. I've definitely made a lot of posts on there trying to find books that I'm interested in, and you can pretty much always get a suggestion, and people are really friendly on there and helpful with suggesting books. Another resource would be things like YouTube. Look at booktubers. I know TikTok has Book Talk that has a bunch of recommendations. I know those are more controversial. People tend to love them or hate them. Honestly, I see a lot more hate for Book Talk books, but maybe that's because I usually watch people on YouTube, and the people who recommend books on YouTube is a little bit different than TikTok. Mostly just a different age range, so I think they're just different interests. So you can kind of explore both and see what you're into. If you're younger, you probably like the Book Talk recommendations more. If you're a little older, millennial, you might want to look on YouTube. But either way, you can find some really good stuff. If nothing else, it would be something new to try. And like I said earlier, if you don't like it, just give up on it. It is not a big deal if you don't finish a book. There aren't really hacks or cheats as far as how to get to over 100 books, but if you're kind of struggling, losing momentum, you're losing motivation because you're just not where you want to be, maybe you're several books behind where you need to be and you don't know when you're going to catch up, you can always just read shorter books. You can read things like graphic novels, manga, just look at books that are under 150 pages, just things you can kind of go through fast. Another thing would be audiobooks. So some of these shorter books, the audiobooks are super short, especially if you listen at a faster speed. So you could get a book that's like 150 pages, listen to the audiobook. The audiobook might run like 4 hours, but if you listen to it faster, you can get through that book in like less than 3 hours. That's an afternoon, and then you've got a book knocked out for your read list. This isn't something that I pay too much attention to because, like I said, in 2023, I was only 4 books short of my goal, but I wasn't going to push myself and make myself just hate reading just to get to that goal. So don't feel bad if you're just not reaching your goal. It's totally fine. You can just set a new goal the next year. Just read what you want to and don't make yourself hate reading. That would be the worst thing to do. I also wanted to talk about why my goal is not 100 books this year. For one, I just wanted to reach that milestone really, and I did, so I'm pretty happy with that. Also, I don't really pay too much attention to my goals. I kind of just read whatever I'm feeling. So if I want to read a bunch of books, I'll read them. If I don't feel like reading, I'll stop. I mean, I might go a solid month without reading anything at all, and that's totally fine. And then I'll have another month where I'll read like 12 books in a month. So it really just depends. So definitely don't feel pressured to read that many books. This video is more for people who are trying to reach that 100 book goal or 52 books or whatever high book reading goal you have happen to set. I really hope this video has helped you, and the most important thing to remember is just make this part of your routine. My favorite thing to do is to wind down at night is to read. I have a nice little setup with my Kindle. I have my phone stand or my iPad stand, and I use my Kindle on it, and I lay in bed and just put the stand like right above my face so that I can lay on my back and just stare up at the screen. And I have a page turner like clicker thing, and it's amazing. I know it is so lazy, but it really helps me wind down before bed, and it's one of the ways that I add more books to my read list. So whatever you have to do, but I highly recommend having a nighttime book that you read before bed. It's so nice to wind down. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. I would love to know your goal for 2025. My goal this year, I think I'm just gonna set it at 52, which would be a book a week. That seems totally doable and not too much pressure. But like I said, I kind of don't care too much about goals. We'll just see what happens. But let me know your goal in the comments. Thank you for stopping by. Like the video, subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.